So this week, I thought we would dive into some things again, hopefully are somewhat familiar if you've been taking my classes for a while, and all of you have, but putting them together in a way that might be novel, just to keep it fresh. Today I thought we would talk about gratitude and Santosha, which I will define that in a moment, and wholeness. So we all know what gratitude is. Santosha is the yogic word for contentedness. And we might say, well, this is gratitude and this is contentedness. But when we really look deeply at what gratitude actually is, it is being appreciative, it is recognizing, it is being fully present and open to, and having a lifted or an open or joyful feeling when we're grateful. And contentedness is the other word we might use to describe those exact same qualities. To be fully present with what's happening, to be content in this moment. Usually when I teach contentment, I'm reminded of that song, "All I Need Is the Air That I Breathe and to Love You." And yeah, it's just like, it's about a romantic relationship probably when it was written, but when we think of it maybe in terms of a praise song, the chorus is like, I don't need food, I don't need water, I don't need a book to read, I don't need something else to do. All I need is the air that I breathe and to love you. And we might just say, all I need is the air that I breathe and to love. So contentedness and gratitude really are two sides of the same coin. And both of those sides of the coin itself then would be wholeness. Wholeness precludes the idea that something is missing. And only when we are thinking that something is missing or we are lacking something do we slip out of that gratitude state. When we acknowledge the fullness of each moment, even if it wasn't the way our ego minds might have designed that moment or that situation or whatever, we can tap into the fullness of it. Did the challenge of that moment cause your heart to connect to that something greater? Did the lack in that moment of what you thought you would have but didn't create an opportunity for creative problem solving? Right? Did we shift our attention from the fact that the outdoor event we were going to go to was canceled because it's raining, but then we also noticed how the humidity dropped and our bodies were more comfortable? Maybe there was a rainbow in the sky. Both things are true. Where do we put our attention? Wholeness, gratitude, and santosha. Maybe they're not three different things. Yoga Sutra 242. Two translations here. Chip Heart Ramp, contentment brings unsurpassed joy. And of course, Granny Michelle Joy, always. Supreme joy is attained through the practice of gratitude. Yogi Bhajan says gratitude is the highest practice of yoga, probably because it relates to that wholeness. So let's find that intentional seat. Let's sit and be present in this moment. It's one of our first steps toward contentedness, is to recognize the moment we're in so that we can acknowledge it. So you can just let your body be supported, like allow yourself to receive that support from the floor below you. Notice the tilt of your hips. Notice if you could maybe relax a little bit of the muscles in the abdominals or the hips a little bit, just to kind of soften downwards to allow yourself to be held. We might notice as we settle into stillness, our breath flowing as you inhale, without trying to lift your spine, without trying to open your heart. As you inhale, feel the natural lift and opening that happens. And as you exhale, notice the ease and relaxation and the receiving of support that happens. So we're not trying anything, we're not going after it. We're simply finding ourselves in the present moment, allowing that abundant inward and abundant outward flow of breath to remind us of wholeness. This moment. Let's dedicate ourselves to this next hour of practice, joyful to be here, remembering that the practice doesn't take us anywhere, that the reward that we seek is this practice itself, and just be in this moment. Breathing this abundant flow, we might be either eyes closed or open, sort of our body is sort of facing forward. because of this, we might be missing all the abundance that's around us. We might be seeing only what's right in front of us and missing the rest. So let's start to open our hearts to what we can receive. Just bring your right hand over to your left knee. Let your heart move in that leftward direction. Left hand might come behind the body or even reach around towards that right hip. Soften your hips again. Remember, we kind of sit up when we twist and soften again. And then just effortlessly as you breathe, when you inhale, feel the lift and expansion that happens. As you exhale, feel your shoulders and your sitting bones sink low. Surrender. Notice what it is to have your heart open in this new direction. How energy flows differently in the body, breath flows differently in the body. On your next exhale, just release yourself back to center. Bring yourself into a comfortable neutral. Take a big breath in and out. Left hand reaches for the right knee, same thing. Once you find your twisted position and your heart is open to the right, soften back into your hips. Let go of any effort or striving to lift. And just allow the breath to open and lift your heart. And the breath to soften your shoulders and hips down as you exhale. What is it to be open to this new direction? How does breath flow differently? What was already there that we just forgot to acknowledge and can now be grateful for? Exhale, soften forward again. Take a big breath in and out. Shift your feet to Asana, so soles of the feet either together or close to one another. We might use blocks or support under the knees so that we can let go entirely. And feel that openness that's happening now in the pelvic bowl. And again, just soften your body down. Don't try to lift yourself up and be proper. Just soften and let your breath align you. On your next exhale, let your chin drop down to your chest. And then slowly just allow your shoulders to fall forward without trying to expand the back body. Just soften. Each exhale, let the back body get broader and broader. Let gravity sort of pull you close and just allow the back body to open effortlessly. When we look inward and recognize our own wholeness, we begin to see and feel that wholeness reflected back to us in the world. When we look within and see lack, we also experience lack in our outer world. See if you can find your breath flowing through you as a reminder that you have everything you need and that you can allow things to flow from your life without holding on. Take another few breaths to soften into your maximum back opening. Notice it helps to exhale deeply. Inhale, come back into that easy alignment, pause, breath flow, neutralizing. And bring your hands behind your body, lift your chest, lift your chin, and then just relax back into your hands. Maybe unlock the elbows a little bit. Soften the neck, but don't let the back of your head collapse into your shoulders. Just sort of open yourself and lean back. Just 2 more breaths here. Notice how the more you can relax into your hands, the more the front body just opens effortlessly without trying. When you're ready, on an exhale, neutralize your spine again. If you have any blocks underneath your knees, you can set those to the side. For the moment, we're going to bring the soles of the feet wide now into the floor. And then just extend your legs long and wide in front of you. So just taking a nice, big, abundant, open space. Notice how just lying or sitting in this position makes you feel a little bit more open. Blocks or some support could be useful under the knees, especially if you have tight hamstrings. Just kind of, again, softening as best you can into the floor. Just let your hands rest on your legs somewhere under your lap. What we're going to try to do here is squeeze the left shoulder closer and closer to the hip. If you need to move your arms to allow that to happen, we're actively squeezing left shoulder as close as we can to the left hip. Notice what happens to your right side body. When you kind of feel like you're at your peak, you can choose what you do with your arms. They can be anywhere that's helpful, from your hip to reaching up to pressing into a thigh to kind of twisting a little bit. See if you can just kind of let your heart be open. Maybe your top shoulder can fall towards the back body in whatever shape you've taken. Each exhale, squeeze left shoulder. And notice even as we kind of push away from something, there's this opening here, compression and opening happening at the same time. Two sides of the same coin. Let your breath flow here. Just notice how it moves. Inhale, come back to neutral. Pause. Take a clear breath or two. We'll start to move that right shoulder as close as we can to the right hip. Just kind of squeezing and compressing as if to push out any desire, to let go of that desire. And even as that door shuts on this right side of the body, the left side of the body opens, that other door is opening. We cannot separate ourselves from abundance. We only think we have. Lack is an illusion. There is no such thing as not enough. And even as we feel that squeeze in life, like we do on the right side of the body, there is always an opening. Sometimes this requires us to shift our heart open, maybe lift the heart or draw that left shoulder back a little, feel that shift. Yes, good. The squeezing is tiring, so we'll come back to neutral, and again, just take a cleansing breath or two. Beautiful. Let's come off of our seats now and come to standing at the top of your mat in a Tadasana shape. We're going to take a little bit of challenge here. We'll see, we'll offer some options. Blocks also, by the way, if you have those, could maybe be set to either side of your mat near the front, just so that they're within reach once we're down on the floor again. Just kind of root yourself in your feet, shift your weight around to see if you can kind of find a soft, easy, relaxed balance. And we're going to swing our arms out like wide in a circle. Just kind of notice everything that we could ever want, reaching out for that. As your palms come together above your head, we have it. And as we pull that into our heart center, we are that. So opening wide again as you breathe in. Everything we could ever want, we already have and are. Everything we could ever want, we already have and are. One more. Everything we could ever want, we already have and are. And just since we might be missing that, we might feel some lack, let's twist again. So there's a couple ways we can do this. One would be to just twist the upper body, bringing each hand to its opposite hip, one arm in front, one arm in the back. Another would be to draw the knee upward and take a balancing twist, where we twist maybe something like this. The other option would be the extended arms and legs, which apparently I'm not ready for this morning. So just taking whatever level of twist helps you to be open, that offers you the correct amount of challenge for this day, for this moment, in this moment, being grateful for the opportunity to practice, to know your body. Open up your heart, what is already there. Shine what is within you outward, let it be reflected. Good. As you exhale, we're going to take that right foot and step towards the back of the mat, and then come down to a low lunge on the floor. So right knee can drop behind you. Hands can be on the floor. You can also utilize those blocks here. What we're going to do first is turn inward. So chin will come to chest. We're going to lift the back of the heart a little bit. That might be pushing on some blocks. That might be taking more of a dragon shape and coming down a little lower. So again, at the level where your body is today, what way feels most appropriate for you to kind of turn inward and lift the back of the heart. Remembering to recognize our own wholeness, and if all we can see right now is that compressed front body, see if you can feel past the limitations of your individual being into that open space at the back of your heart.
Notice how and where your breath flows here. Remembering that we're practicing on 3 levels: body, energy, and spirit. We're going to take what we found within and shine it outward, letting it flow back out. So beginning to lift. Perhaps our hands again are on blocks here. Perhaps they are pressing into the thigh. Perhaps arms are raised or bound behind the body. Lots of options for opening and lifting. Experiment with several if you like. We'll pause here for a number of breaths. Good, beautiful expressions, guys, nice. Next, exhale, bring your hands back to framing. And from here, we can do a number of things. We can walk back a little bit, pulling that left leg a little straighter, and just round again inward. We could also come to just a neutral and kind of drop chin towards the chest. We're just revisiting that inward thing for one moment here. Then neutralize, if you're not already, hands on your blocks or on the floor beside your feet. And as you inhale, just start to draw that left arm up and over to the right. Squeeze your right shoulder in towards your right hip and feel that left side body open. One door closes, another opens. We cannot escape the abundance that which we are saturated. We are in the world, which is everything. Open to it, even as you kind of squeeze or resist. Like, notice how that you can't escape that openness. Connection. Good. One more breath if you can. Come back to neutral. From here, hands can remain on blocks if you like, a little variation, or hands can be on the floor. We're going to start to tuck those back toes and step back to downward facing dog. Feel how nice it feels to let the legs neutralize it up to that very asymmetrical shape. And down dog. See again where you can kind of soften maybe the back of the neck, the belly, heart. We'll transition to a plank shape or a tabletop shape with some type spine neutral. So you can either walk your legs back. Maybe we use those blocks to come to forearms for plank. Maybe we stay on hands. Just take a breath or two. Sustain what you have. Take care of what you have. Acknowledge it. Then exhale and let the front body come down to the floor. I'm just moving my blocks out of the way for a moment so I can come all the way down, dropping one cheek or the chin to the floor of either one. Then several ways we can take this next pose. We could press into the floor and do a little cobra shape. We could come to forearms more like Sphinx, or we might lift both the arms and the legs away from the floor and just let the front body open again. So all those are valid choices. We're squeezing that back body. Notice how open you are in the front. Good. One more breath here if you can. And release back to neutral, belly on the floor. Take a breath. Then we'll press up briefly through table and come into child's pose. Looking inward again, feeling that broad, open back body. Wait for your body to soften. Let go of the tension in the shoulders. Relax as much as you can here, becoming really passive and feeling the completeness of the pose. Everything you already are and have, everything you could ever want or need. Sometimes we mistakenly feel that lack and we begin to claw for something or reach for something. Let's let both hands walk over to the right side of the mat. Feel how as we long for that thing, whatever it is we're reaching for here to the right, we get a closed door on that right side of our body, but notice that open left side. Even as we mistakenly experience lack, there is an opening if we just turn ourselves. Walk back through center. We'll rise again through downward facing dog, coming back to pausing in neutral for a moment. Both feet step forward, forward fold to the top of the mat. Pause again for a moment. Humble yourself. Continue to look within. Continue to feel that open back body. And on an inhale, as we hinge up, spread your arms out wide. Everything you could ever want, gather it up, let your palms touch. You have it. Pull it into your heart. You are that. Let's find that same series on our left side. So again, choices. We can either turn the heart to the right, or we can lift that left leg. Lots of options for that twisting pose. Open your heart to that. Notice what was already there that we can now acknowledge with gratitude and be content in this moment. Beautiful. When you're ready, step your left foot towards the back of the mat, and we'll come again down into that low lunge. Our first posture, we're going back within. So again, chin to chest, back of the heart lifted, utilizing or not utilizing blocks. Perhaps this is more of a dragon shape here, but we're looking inward. We're seeing past the limitation and into that broad openness of the back body. Feel how the more you relax your hips, the more expansion we get, both at the right hamstring and that left thigh. The more we let go, the more openness there is, the more expansion there is. Meaning the less we clamor for something, the less we go after it, the more it easily flows to us. Sit in that for another breath or two. And we're going to take all that abundance we found within ourselves and shine it outward. So transitioning to the heart, open now. Again, maybe we use blocks here, maybe not. Maybe arms are raised, maybe they're behind the back. Maybe we try some combination of these arm movements with the heart open. And again, letting the hips sink as low as we can. That softness inviting expansion. Surrender is what invites an abundance. Good. Another breath. Notice your breath flowing. Infinite. As you exhale, we'll release any holding and start to straighten that right leg a little bit, going back inward, chin towards the chest. Coming back into our lunge. And we'll start to sink the hips down again, squeezing left shoulder towards left hip. Notice the right side opening. Arm can be wherever you like here. Whatever can help you to squeeze that left side as one door closes and open the right side, feeling that other door opening. We cannot escape the abundance. It is always there. It is always flowing. It is where our attention turns that helps us feel that contentedness, that wholeness, that presence and gratitude. Maybe one more breath before coming out of this twisted shape or this asymmetrical shape. And again, we're going to start to transition into our downward facing dog. Maybe hands remain on blocks. Maybe they come to the floor first. Now that we're back to a symmetrical shape, just notice your breath. Where is there softness and space? Where is there passivity? On an exhale, we'll transition to some sort of neutral position, such as plank or perhaps tabletop. We might use those blocks again to create a plank shape. So just noticing, sustain, taking care of what you have, acknowledging, then release and relax all effort and striving. Come back down to your belly and pause. Maybe one cheek is to the mat, maybe the chin. Same options here. We can take a cobra shape, a sphinx shape, or perhaps a locust shape where the legs also rise. Maybe the arms are also lifted. There's lots of choices here to open that front body. Squeezing at the low back. Notice the openness of all the rest of your body. That front body so boldly open. Receiving and shining outward. And one more breath. Good. Exhale, release back to a relaxed shape, front body on the floor. Pushing up through table and then finding child's pose again. Going back inward, resting in that wholeness and abundance that we've now recognized. We start to notice that our cup is so full that we can give freely and never run out. This is what happens when we tap into our wholeness instead of trying to tap into our limitedness. Good. From here, rising again back to, actually, I forgot, we gotta open ourselves up. So we're gonna move again. That desire sometimes calls to us. Let's move our whole body, our arms over to that left side, reaching for something. And as we reach, as we kind of follow that desire, that left side just squeezes together, kind of closing the door. When we are reaching for something, it is because we believe that we lack it. We believe that we do not already have it or are that. Then feel that right side body open. We already have it, we already are that. It's just a matter of perspective. Feel that and that breath, the infinite breath, how it flows. If it's moving into that open space, then come back to center. And now we will rise into downward facing dog. Taking a couple of breaths. Then stepping forward again, forward fold. Feel that relaxation in the back of the head, passive, bowing, humble before the abundance that has been offered to us. On an inhale, we'll hinge up and sweep our arms open, all the desires of our heart, gathering up, noticing that we already have them as the hands touch. And noticing we already are that as we pull that into our heart center and hands forward. Wholeness. Good. From here, we can turn to the side of the mat so that we can take a wider stance. Kind of like we did when we were seated, just kind of finding a comfortable open width here. And just without locking the knees, keeping a little softness there, but feeling that grounding and that support below us. We'll start to sweep the right arm up and then over to the left. Inhale back up and exhale, arm down. Inhale, left arm comes up. Exhale, lean to the right. Just see if you can create a kind of a flowing windmill kind of motion out of this stance. Notice how your breath begins to move as you take your own pattern with this. Where does the breath flow into? And notice again, no matter where we close ourselves off, whether it's left side or right side, that opposite side balances us out, reminds us that we have access to everything. When you feel even to both sides, come back to center here. Maybe the hands can come to the hips as we exhale. We're gonna fold flat back. Blocks could be useful here to bring the floor a little closer. And again, making sure the knees are unlocked, that any place we lock or there's tension in the body, we slow or funnel that flow of energy and abundance. Just kind of keeping everything a little bit open and a little bit soft. Notice the extension of your spine, just like we had in plank pose or our Tadasana pose, sort of softly allowing your inhale to open your heart, allowing your exhale to soften. On an inhale, we'll start to sweep the right arm out to the side. Heart's gonna shift to that right side. We could choose to bend into that right knee a little bit. We might also kind of soften or change the orientation of the left foot on the floor to open the heart. Right hand might be lifted, it might come to your hips or your sacrum, but gently opening that heart by pulling the right shoulder towards the back body in some way. What has already been there all along that we failed to notice until now? This is why it's important to keep looking around. Good. As you exhale, come back to your neutral, flat back, take a breath in and out. And then open your heart to the left shoulder again, coming behind the body in some way. We might bend into one or both knees to help open our hearts in this direction. What was already there, we just forgot to notice. How much abundance do we live in every day? If nothing else, the breath. Always the breath. Exhale again and come back to neutral. We're going to take a big inhale and lengthen our spine actively this time. Then exhale and relax into the forward fold here. Relaxing the whole spine. Remembering to unlock the knees. Balance your weight between your toes and your heels and just allow the spine to hang and lengthen passively. The more we let go of reaching, the less effort we put into chasing after. Notice how open the spine becomes as we let go of effort. Beautiful. Inhale and neutralize your spine. Again, we might use our blocks for support as we draw the feet just a little closer together to come into a little squat here. And again, softening as much as we can. Maybe those blocks become useful underneath your hips for support. Without trying too hard, just let your hips and your tailbone drop down. Notice how this naturally lengthens and opens the heart and spine. Hands can be on the floor to support you. They can be on the knees. They can be somewhat behind you. Anything that will help kind of just passively open your heart center. Good. 2 more breaths. Just be with it. Notice what this pose might be teaching you today, whether it's easy or hard for you in this moment. Just be present with it and grateful for either the lesson or the comfort, whichever it is. When you exhale next, go ahead and bring your sitting bones all the way to the floor. Swing your legs back in front of you towards the front of your mat. And we will take a few more seated poses before we find our way to the back. Just kind of resting back on the hands, knees and feet wide. We're going to take our familiar deer twist, but we're going to try to do this in a flowing way, kind of like we did standing. So as you exhale, let your knees drop to one side. So we twist the body in that direction, and then seamlessly start to move in the other direction. Just allow it to be a very slow, gentle process. It doesn't have to be with your breath per se. Just notice how your breath moves, or how your breath might be cueing you. Which parts of the body feel open and where the breath flows, which parts of the body feel more compressed and how the breath flows in those places. This is us trying to look at all directions at once so that we don't miss any of the magnificent miracles that are constantly unfolding. Course in Miracles, if you're a student of that teaching, says that miracles are not unusual. They're happening all the time. What is unusual is when we fail to notice them. Just kind of sit with that as you turn your body in all directions, noticing all the beauty around you. From every blade of grass to every blessing that you've had already this morning. Clean water, clean air, maybe a comfortable ride, sunshine, freedom to be here. All these blessings unfolding. Maybe take 1 or 2 more in each direction so that you feel balanced in this flowing, twisting motion. And arriving back in your neutral, we'll start to come down to the spine. So the spine coming down to the floor. Make sure your blocks are just somewhere where you can reach them. We may or may not use them for some of these poses. Once you're down on the floor, take the time to adjust your body so that you feel completely passively held again by the floor. Feel how aligned your spine is without having to lift it or even use your breath. It's just that allowing ourselves to be supported, how this opens the front body. Letting the feet come away from the floor and the knees somewhat towards the chest. We can take either knees to chest, maybe wider in the knees, or perhaps happy baby. Letting the hands come to the outside of the feet. It's okay this time if the pelvis comes away from the floor. We're kind of opening that low back. Maybe it's a cannonball shape, or maybe the head just gently lifts away from the floor, chin coming into the chest. Maybe that moves with your breath, or maybe your head just stays on the floor to remain stable. Just kind of notice front body closed, back body open. Release and relax. Let your feet come back down to the floor. We're going to take a few bridge poses here. And so there's, again, some options. If you're feeling a more active practice is more suited for you today, we might just lift and lower on our own strength. If we're feeling a little bit more of a need to be more passive and just to allow, maybe that's something that's happening for you, you can use one of your blocks or both blocks to support underneath your sacrum. If you have a bolster, you can also just let your sitting bones remain on the floor and lift the back of the heart. So any of those are options. Let's take a big breath in before you come into your shape and lift. Perhaps you find your support here, maybe you're just staying on your own steam. But if you're kind of taking that more active practice, feel free to lift and lower as your body needs. If you're using some kind of support, see how much you can let go to it. Can you trust whatever support is there to you? Can you not be too specific about what kind of support you want or would prefer? Just allow the support that's there to hold you. The more you let go in this more passive shape, the more open your heart becomes. Maybe the knees even start to fall open a little bit if you're in that passive shape. And again, if you're active, be feeling free to lift and lower at your leisure so that you can enjoy the pose, to find contentment in it, to not strive for a certain number of breaths or a certain height in the pose, but simply to be present with it and satisfied with the fact that you are practicing in this moment. This intentional breath. Letting yourself lift and lower as needed, or just let go a little more and a little more. We'll stay for another few rounds of breath. If you're on your own power, slowly lower. If you're supported, gently lift and slowly release yourself from that position and slowly come back to the mat. Taking whatever neutralizing movements or poses feel good to you. Then from here, we'll extend the legs long on the mat, so we're just kind of a nice long toothpick shape. Feet at the bottom and then hands kind of reaching for the top softly. And just kind of pause in this extended shape. Like, apply no effort to this. This is not an active stretch, but just kind of pointing the arms and feet in this direction and then softening. What happens to the shape of your spine? What happens to the movement of breath in the body? Do you feel aligned? Just passively aligned and supported? And this is our natural state, is that natural openness, natural support, effortless being. But we get fooled, we get tripped up, we forget sometimes. So let's bring our hands and our feet over to the left side of the mat. See if you can anchor your sacrum right where it is as the rest of your body travels over to the left. So we have sort of that moon bending shape. We might even try to squeeze the left shoulder closer to that left hip. Arms and legs can be in any shape here. Feel one door close in your life and that temporary sense of lack. Oh no, I've lost something and it's important to me. And now feel that right side body, that miracle that is already there. As soon as we can turn our attention to it. Give yourself another couple of breaths here. Can you relax into this shape? Can you stop squeezing the left shoulder and the left hip and just allow? Allow that door to close, whatever it might be for you in your life right now. What are you being asked to release? What are you maybe grasping that you could let go of? How much energy is that grasping consuming in your life? And what would happen if you focused your attention on that open door? Just be with that. What is this pose teaching you?
Coming back through center, find your natural alignment again. Head, arms, feet and legs coming back to that neutral space. Maybe take one active breath and a stretch and then soften again. Let go to your natural state. What shape is your heart? How at ease are your shoulders? Do you feel aligned? Do you feel grounded and balanced? Is your intake of receiving equal to your giving or your surrendering in this shape? This is our natural state of contentment. Abundance is flowing in and out. We are at ease with it. We are peaceful. We are not striving. Again, we get fooled. We forget. And our feet try to walk us to the right. And our hands start grasping to the right. And our mind is sort of magnetized to that right side as we sort of move our body to emulate that. The right shoulder might squeeze to the right hip as we reach and reach and reach for whatever that is that we are desiring, that we have forgotten to appreciate, and now we feel that we are lacking. And notice that left side. So open. So ready to receive, so abundantly vast. And just like that image of the two faces, or maybe it's the wine glass, depends on how you look at it. See if you can, without moving your body, shift your attention to that open side. And what happens to the right side as we shift our attention to that open left side is it softens, it stops squeezing. It begins the process of opening up, of letting go of grasping, of being present. And when that shift starts to happen, we notice that we are out of alignment, and we release that desire completely. We come back to our natural state of alignment. Legs and feet coming back to center, maybe arms reach for just a moment, maybe one breath before softening again into that natural state of being. How much trust do you have to let go to the support that's available to you? How open is your heart center? How relaxed are your shoulders? How soft is your breath? How smooth? See if you can keep your shoulders anchored just as they are. Elbows might bend a little bit more if that's comfortable for you. We'll start to bend at the knees, soles of the feet coming back to the floor. And just letting the knees come softly in towards the chest. Tailbone stays downward pointing, or sacrum stays attached to the floor. And the knees and the feet try to point us in a new direction. Lean a little to the left with your knees, but pause. See if you can just stay soft in the upper body, even as your feet are reaching or your knees are reaching. Come back to center. Rest, breath. Let your knees fall to the right, about halfway to the floor. Just kind of hover. See if you can keep your upper body soft and relaxed. Even as your ego self wants to walk you in a new direction, stay anchored in the wholeness and openness of your heart, present. Come back to center and relax. Take a breath. Feet are going to try to walk us to the left again, but we're going to pause and just allow the knees to come all the way to the floor, or perhaps onto a block for support. And again, anchoring through the shoulders, just remaining in that soft, open, passive shape in the upper body. And then just take all the effort out of the knees going in that direction. The mind still wants it, but the heart and the awareness, our spirit knows of wholeness. We can laugh at our desires, find a giddy joy in the silly things that we've wanted. Have you ever put some things in your Amazon cart and then not bought it, and then 2 days later you come back and you're kind of laughing why did I think I needed that? That's what this is. This is taking the wind out of those desires, acknowledging them, letting them go, starting to notice that openness in your heart, what you already have and are. Just breathe into that for a few more breaths. sort of the embodiment of the grass is greener. I'm starting to notice how green the grass is inside your own heart. The sun that nurtured it, the soil that nurtured it, the rain that nurtured it. And that desire that seems so important on the left side suddenly seems not so important. Let the knees come back to center. Neutralize your spine. Take at least a breath, maybe 2 or 3. And we sit this way. We are content for a time. It's part of that ego human nature to have those desires again. So let your feet float away from the floor again, knees falling all the way to the floor or onto some kind of support on that right side. The desires of our bodies and the desires of our egocentric selves leading or trying to walk us in that direction, and yet the heart remains anchored, the shoulders apply no effort in achieving that goal or having or acquiring that thing or that experience or that state of being. We rest and relax, supported in our abundance. This is what it is to observe the mind. The mind has desires. The body has desires. The witness, the spirit, recognizes our connection to all things and needs nothing. Again, from A Course in Miracles, I said prayer was offered by the Holy Spirit to reach God. It's not merely a question or an entreaty. It cannot succeed until you realize that it asks for nothing. How else could it serve its purpose? Remember, its purpose is to reach God. So how else could it serve its purpose? True prayer must avoid the pitfall of asking. Rather, ask to receive what is already given, to accept what is already there. Let a few more breaths flow through you. Wait for that place where you feel balanced to your twist on the other side of your body. When that moment comes, just bring yourself back to neutral, make any adjustments to feel aligned. And then we'll start to move into whatever rest pose we're going to take. And I invite you, as you take either Shavasana or perhaps you use those supports to lift and open your heart. Maybe we take more of an X shape where the arms and legs are kind of spread wide or something like that. Maybe we're in some kind of wider, more vast, open shape. The idea, though, is once you find the shape that you're going to take, soften, let go of all action. Swami Satchidananda says contentment is golden. A contented mind is a golden mind. And that is what we should learn. That when you keep your mind always steady and still, right? Sthira and sukha. When you keep your mind always steady and still, that is yoga. Once you acquire that steadiness, the world, the whole world, is at your feet. And what is the whole world? Nothing but God's creation. When you don't need to go after God because your mind is contented. When you are ready, God will be there with you, in you. You don't need to call on God. This is the secret of all the religions, of all yoga, and of success in any endeavor. The secret of success is don't run after it. It will come to you. Success follows contentment. And I think what he's trying to say here is we won't be happy when. We will have or be or do that thing when we are already content for it. Sit with your breath. feel it flowing in and out, the abundant flow, never ceasing, always plentiful.
Notice the air that you breathe, how there's nothing else in this moment that is needed.
breathe and love. Each inhale comes effortlessly. Each exhale flows effortlessly. Being relaxed and supported and content, grateful and whole. Notice the fullness of emptiness, the complexity of silent stillness. How much is there? How much is there? Grateful for that pause. It's easy to feel the abundance of our to-do list. It's long. Feel the abundance of stillness and silence. Doing nothing, needing nothing, applying no effort to any end, just contentment, gratitude, wholeness, completeness. Now bringing attention to that giving and receiving. Deepen your inhales, deepen your exhales. Feel yourself coming back to your human nature. Stretch out your hands, stretch out your arms, reach for those desires that will inevitably arise again. And maybe after we've reached for those things and we've achieved them in some way through our strong efforts, now pull it all in and see if you can just hold it to you. Don't let it go. And relax all of that. Roll to your side and let go again. Release effort. Let go. Allow things to come. Allow things to go. And slowly, just with patience and no hurry and no particularly strong effort, transform your body into a seated shape again. Just like we did at the beginning of class, just like try to apply as little effort as possible. Let that relaxation, that softness allow your body to just be held and supported. Without trying too hard to intentionally lift or elongate the spine, just let your breath open and lift you as you breathe in. Let your breath help you settle into your support as you breathe out. And one last reminder of sort of our mantra for the week. Next time you inhale, make it a big one. Let your arms reach out again. Everything you ever want, let your hands come together. You already have. Let your hands come to your heart and are. Everything you could ever want, you already have and are. Let your chin come to your chest and recognize that wholeness within yourself. Humbly bow to the wholeness of which you are a part and which exists in completeness inside of you. We close our practice with this prayer. For every act of practice, of service into this, contributes to awareness of wholeness and contentment for all. Loka, samasta, sukhino, bhavantu. May all beings be happy, healthy, safe, and free. Namaste.